Okay, I'll do my best to summarize what we read yesterday. That's going to be a very challenging task. Yesterday, I think we reached the peak climax of the book where Santiago had 3 days to turn himself into the wind, or else the tribesmen dressed in blue garb were going to off of their heads. And so, in order for the alchemist and Santiago to continue on in their journey unharmed, he had to do this thing. So, 3 days full of anxiety, questions. He finally got to talk to the wind, right? So that's a little strange in and of itself. And then the wind was like, listen, I can't turn you into me. I don't know how to do that. Even my wisdom has limitations. Talk to the sun. Maybe the sun knows. So Santiago was like, all right, I'll talk to the sun. So the wind was like, all right, let me help you. I'll do a little windstorm to like block the sun's harmful rays or something like that. So talk to the sun, and the sun's like, sorry, I don't know how to do that either. But you could talk to the hand that started it all. I think that was a reference to God. And Santiago's like, what? You don't have the answer either? Okay, fine, I'll try. But let's have a quick little chat about love, because love is the answer, and love is the soul of the world, blah, blah, blah. And so he realized, okay, so really only God has the power to make miracles, but I have a little piece of God in me. So then, boom, I can make miracles too. All right, that was a really short summary, kind of did a terrible job, but that's what I can essentially make out of it. So meanwhile, the Arab friends slash kidnappers dressed in blue are like, oh my gosh, he's doing it. He's doing the darn thing out there. He's got the wind going. Oh my gosh, should we stop him? And then the chief is like, no, let's see what happens. This is awesome. So I left you guys at the bottom of page 152. And Santiago's in all of his glory right now. Cool. There's always some tricky word in here that catches me off guard. All right. The simum, that's like the big windstorm that he was working on yesterday, blew that day as it had never blown before. For generations thereafter, the Arabs recounted the legend of a boy who had turned himself into the wind, almost destroying a military camp in defiance of the most powerful chief in the desert. When the simum ceased to blow, everyone looked to the place where the boy had been, but he was no longer there. He was standing next to a sand-covered centennial on the far side of the camp. Oh, I think I kind of blew it yesterday. But basically Santiago, I don't know, got caught up in like a little wind. Maybe he like, what are those things? Tornadoes. Maybe there was like a tornado version, and he like got sucked up in it and got spit out on the other side of camp. So yeah, miracles do happen. But he was no longer there. He was standing next to blah, blah, blah. Read that. The men were terrified at his sorcery, but there were two people who were smiling. The alchemist, because he had found his perfect disciple, and the chief, because that disciple had understood the glory of God. The following day, the general bade the boy and the alchemist farewell and provided them with an escort party to accompany them as far as they chose. Whoa! So Santiago is a boss now. They're like, dude, if you tamed the wind, I will do whatever you need me to. I will follow you. Heck. Yeah. Oops. Page break. Whoop, keep going. They rode for the entire day. Toward the end of the afternoon, they came upon a Coptic monastery. The alchemist dismounted and told the escorts they could return to the camp. From here on, you will be alone, the alchemist said. You are only 3 hours from the pyramids. Thank you, said the boy. You taught me the language of the world. I only invoked what you already knew. The alchemist knocked on the gate of the monastery. A monk dressed in black came to the gates. They spoke for a few minutes in the Coptic tongue, and the alchemist bade the boy enter. I asked him to let me use the kitchen for a while, the alchemist smiled. They went to the kitchen at the back of the monastery. The alchemist lighted the fire, the monk brought him some lead, and which the alchemist placed in an iron pan. When the lead had become liquid, the alchemist took from his pouch the strange yellow egg. He scraped from it a sliver as thin as a hair, wrapped it in wax, and added it to the pan in which the lead had melted. The mixture took on a reddish color, almost the color of blood. The alchemist removed the pan from the fire and set it aside to cool. As he did so, he talked with the monk about tribal wars. I think they're going to last for a long time, he said to the monk. The monk was irritated. The caravans had been stopped at Giza for some time, waiting for the wars to end. But God's will be done, the monk said. Exactly, answered the alchemist. What? When the pan had cooled, the monk and the boy looked at it, dazzled. The lead had drained into the shape of the pan, but it was no longer lead. It was gold! Gold. Will I learn to do that someday? The boy asked. This was my personal legend, not yours, the alchemist answered, but I wanted to show you that it was possible. They returned to the gates of the monastery. There, the alchemist separated the disc into 4 parts. This is for you, he said, holding one of the parts out to the monk. It's for your generosity to the pilgrims. But this payment goes well beyond my generosity, the monk responded. Don't say that again. Life might be listening and give you less next time. The alchemist turned to the boy. This is for you, to make up for what you have gave to the general. The boy was about to say that it was much more than he had given the general, but he kept quiet because he had heard what the alchemist said to the monk. And this is for me, said the alchemist, keeping one of the parts, because I have to return to the desert where there are tribal wars. He took the 4th part and handed it to the monk. This is for the boy, if he ever needs it. But I am going in search of my treasure, the boy said. I'm very close to it now. And I'm certain to find it, the alchemist said. Then why this? Because you have already lost your savings twice, once to the thief and once to the general. I'm an old superstitious Arab and I believe in our proverbs. There's one that says, everything that happens once can never happen again, but everything that happens twice will surely happen a 3rd time. They mounted their horses. Page break! I want to tell you a story about dreams, said the alchemist. The boy brought his horse closer. In ancient Rome, at the time of Emperor Tiberius, there lived a good man who had 2 sons. One was in the military and had been sent to the most distant regions of the empire. The other son was a poet and delighted all of Rome with his beautiful verses. One night, the father had a dream. An angel appeared to him and told him that the words of one of his sons would be learned and repeated throughout the world for all generations to come. The father woke from his dream grateful and crying because life was generous, and he had revealed to him something any father would be proud to know. Shortly thereafter, the father died as he tried to save a child who was about to be crushed by the wheels of a chariot. Since he had lived his entire life in a manner that was correct and fair, he went directly to heaven, where he met the angel that had appeared in his dream. You were always a good man, the angel said to him. You lived your life in a loving way and died with dignity. I can now grant you any wish you desire. Life was good to me, the man said. When you appeared in my dream, I felt that all my efforts had been rewarded, because my son's poems will be read by men for generations to come. I don't want anything for myself, but any father would be proud of the fame achieved by one whom he had cared for as a child and educated as he grew up. Sometime in the distant future, I would like to see my son's words. The angel touched the man's shoulder, and they were both projected far into the future. They were in an immense setting, surrounded by thousands of people speaking a strange language. The men wept with happiness. I knew that my son's poems were immortal, he said to the angel through his tears. Can you please tell me which of my son's poems these people are repeating? The angel came closer to the man and with tenderness led him to a bench nearby, where they sat down. The verses of your son, who was the poet, were very popular in Rome, the angel said. Everyone loved them and enjoyed them. But when the reign of Tiberius ended, his poems were forgotten. The words you're hearing now are those of your son in the military. The man looked at the angel in surprise. Your son went to serve at a distant place and became a centurion? Ooh, gonna have to look that one up. He was just and good. One afternoon, one of his servants fell ill, and it appeared that he would die. Your son had heard of a rabbi who was able to cure illnesses, and he rode out for days and days in search of this man. Along the way, he learned that the man he was seeking was the Son of God. He met others who had been cured by him, and they instructed your son in the man's teachings. And so, despite the fact that he was a Roman centurion, how did I say it the first time? Whatever. He converted to their faith. Shortly thereafter, he reached the place where the man he was looking for was visiting. He told the man that one of his servants was gravely ill, and the rabbi made ready to go to his house with him. But the centurion, there we go, was a man of faith, and, looking into the eyes of the rabbi, he knew that he was surely in the presence of the Son of God. And this is what your son said, the angel told the man. These are the words he said to the rabbi at that point, and they have never been forgotten. My lord, I am not worthy that you should come under my roof, but only speak a word, and my servant will be healed. Oh, as someone who went to Catholic school for many, many years, that all sounds all too familiar. The alchemist said, no matter what he does, every person on earth plays a central role in the history of the world, and normally he doesn't know it. The boy smiled. He had never imagined that questions about life would be of such importance to a shepherd. Goodbye, the alchemist said. Goodbye, said the boy. So, time check. It's 1:14. I think this is a good place to stop for today. And just so you know, we have 5 pages left. So we're going to finish this novel tomorrow. Thank goodness. But it's actually wonderful. I feel like this is the type of book that you have to read multiple times in order to understand it. I feel like once when you're young, once when you're like 20s, 30s, and then later in life. And each time it'll probably have a different meaning. Clearly, I'm going to have to go back and summarize that story and really analyze in my head why the alchemist told the boy that. Right now, I don't have any thoughts to share. I think I need to think about it a little bit more. All right, so I have conferences today. I'm going to stop the recording because I didn't yesterday. Thanks, Sophie, for catching that. There we go.